Hi there and welcome back. In this video, we dive into the meaning and the limits of sovereignty, a word born in the Age of Kings, yet still ruling the planet today. We'll examine the core question: what does sovereignty truly mean? On land, at sea, in the air, and beyond? And why does this 500 years old ancient principle remain the greatest roadblock to saving the planet? More importantly, we will demonstrate why the creation of Global Climate Authority (GCA) is not just an ideal solution, but a necessary legal mechanism to finally allow planetary survival to prevail over absolute national power, and how it effectively navigates and overcomes the challenge of sovereignty. Let's take a closer look and get the answers. The word sovereignty comes from the Latin superanus, meaning supreme or above others. But as an idea, it only took shape after one of Europe's darkest centuries, when 30 years of political and religious wars left Central Europe in ruins. The Peace of Westphalia, signed in 1648, finally brought an end to that devastation. It marked the beginning of a new political order, where each state was recognized as independent, free to rule within its own terrestrial borders, a turning point that still defines our world today. Now, let's consider the fundamental anachronism in global law. We have gone through 500 years of unprecedented change, yet the core legal principle governing the planet has remained static. The world completely transformed. We moved from monarchy to universal suffrage. We replaced the era of horses with artificial intelligence and spacecraft, revolutionizing global travel. Our economies became systematically global, generating interconnected risks like the 2008 financial crisis and the climate crisis. But the law of sovereignty has not evolved. The 17th century premise that a nation-state holds supreme and exclusive authority within its borders is still the legal cornerstone. Consequently, a principle defined by a world of isolated territories is now the primary structural impediment to effective 21st century environmental protection. It is this legal mismatch that we must now address. Let's move from theory to geography. The principle of national sovereignty is ultimately based on the border. But what are borders, really? They are mostly lines on paper, legal, 17th century conventions. But in the air, there are no walls. In the ocean, our boundaries, like the exclusive economic zones, are coordinates on a map. They are not physical barriers. Even on land, the physical controls exist only where governments choose to manage the flow of people and goods. The crucial point is that the planet does not recognize these lines. The climate, the atmosphere, the oceans, and the flow of pollution are fluid, interconnected biological systems. The failure of one sovereign nation, say in managing its deforestation or industrial output, creates an unmitigated systemic risk for every other nation. This mismatch between our global, fluid reality and our national, static law is why we need a global court with enforcement power. Sovereignty once meant control, the power to decide without interference. But as our crises deepen, the calls for absolute sovereignty grow louder. Yet every sovereign act, deforestation, mining, oil drilling, ripples beyond borders. We defend our right to decide even when those decisions destroy what we all depend on. Sovereignty was meant to guarantee security. Now it threatens collective survival. The evidence is clear. The legal mismatch between our global climate problem and the static national law of sovereignty is the reason why climate action remains trapped in voluntary promises. The planet needs a voice and a court that is empowered to enforce the law. Therefore, we introduced the Global Climate Authority, GCA. The GCA is designed not as a replacement for national governments, nor as a political debating body. It is fundamentally an independent legal and enforcement authority. Its role is to serve as the logical and necessary evolution of global governance, providing the decisive, defensive voice required for planetary health. Its purpose is simple: to establish hard law accountability that operates above national political cycles and short-term economic interests. The GCA's role is to bridge the gap between global, systemic risk and national, limited authority, ensuring that climate law finally becomes enforceable. It is the shared court for a shared planet. Our planet no longer fits inside our politics. The question is no longer who rules, but who takes responsibility. Sovereignty cannot be erased, but it can evolve. The Global Climate Authority can help it transform from my land to our planet. True sovereignty is not domination, it's stewardship. It means defending what sustains us, not just what belongs to us. The future of nations depends on the future of the planet, and that begins with redefining what it means to be sovereign together. The challenge of sovereignty is ultimately a challenge of belief. It is the belief that the 17th century principle of absolute control still serves an interconnected 21st century world. The Global Climate Authority offers the solution, but like the Westphalian system centuries ago, every new system begins with a shared belief, and this one begins with ours. It begins with the belief that we can choose stewardship over domination and survival over absolute power. Thank you for watching. The arguments presented in this video are grounded in established legal and economic theory. We believe the necessity of the Global Climate Authority is an unavoidable legal conclusion. We reiterate our call. Every system begins with a shared belief, and this one begins with ours. We invite you to be part of that belief. Please visit our YouTube channel to read the full Global Climate Authority Manifesto and share this video with your networks. It is time for planetary survival to prevail. See you in the next video. Bye!